Hi, everybody. Justine here for your last Ever Upward book club. Sorry, I'm technically a minute late. I was fixing my hair, and I noticed how my forehead wrinkles look worse with my bangs up like that. So thank goodness for good skincare that I just started. I'm glad that you joined me for the last book club. I'm going to minimize this so I don't have to watch myself. Hopefully we do not have technical difficulties this time. I really hope. And Chad did kind of fix the internet for me, so hopefully we really don't have technical difficulties. And hopefully I'm going to get through the questions, especially the really good questions that I got sent from last week, because they were awesome. They were like funny, and they were also pretty controversial, which I'm kind of excited because, as you know me, I don't really kind of shy away from controversy. I just want to make sure, want to make sure nobody tweeted me a question. So first off, I want to do some housekeeping because we are like 2 weeks from launch, and I'm attempting to be excited rather than just stressed and anxious. It's actually really, really hard. It feels impossible to get this book notice. It feels impossible to get the message notice, and it's tough. And it feels pretty lonely half the time, and it's just, this is a hard part of the journey. No one said publishing a book would be easy, but I thought after surviving infertility and losing 3 babies that this would not be the hard part, but I think hard is just hard, as I say. So we're 2 weeks away. Well, come Tuesday, we are 1 week away from launch. And so I know I've been bugging everybody about that Thunderclap campaign, and I know it looks weird and you may not want to sign up for it, but I literally am 2 people away from it launching. And so what that means is I have to have 100 people sign up for it to even go live. So if you sign up for the Thunderclap, what that means is that on April 7th, Thunderclap will tweet or Facebook post for you at 10 a.m. the message that I've already written about the book. So 100 is their smallest limit for Thunderclap. I was super confident and probably overconfident, obviously, because I had to lower it. I wanted to try to get 250, but there's no chance of that happening. So we lowered it to 100. I'm still 2 people away. If we meet 100 people before in the next 12 days, then it goes live, which means everybody who signed up for the Thunderclap, that they will tweet or Facebook on April 7th the message that the book has been released. And at this point, with 98 people signed up, that message will go out to 91,000 people, which is just, social media is incredible when it's used for the right reasons and used for what I think it was meant for. So if you have not signed up for the Thunderclap, please sign up for the Thunderclap. Or if you have, if you could share that you have on Twitter or on Facebook and ask people to sign up for it, that would be awesome. The other thing that I wanted to ask for, I'm at 35 reviews right now on Amazon. Couple kind of frustrating things about the Amazon review is that you have to have purchased from Amazon in order to do an Amazon review. So if you are not an Amazon purchaser, I encourage you just to put your review on the Ever Upward Facebook page. If you have purchased from Amazon, make sure to click the Kindle version of the book. Since it's not released yet, you have to click on the Kindle version in order to do the review. So you click on the Kindle version, then you click on the link that says like 35 reviews, and then you click on write your own review, and you should be able to write your own review. And it usually it ups the count, but your review doesn't show up for an hour or so. So right now we're at 35. I totally might be dreaming, but I think it might be doable to get to 50 by launch. 50 seems to be the magic number in all of the different articles that we look up, that it pulls you up higher on the searches, it pulls you up higher on Amazon searches, and so 50 is just like the magic number. So I would love to be able to launch with 50 books. And then finally, I do have my first book signing that's in the St. Louis area. It's in St. Louis at the Barnes & Noble at West County Mall on April 11th, Saturday, April 11th at 1 p.m. And I'm possibly going to be scheduling some book signings in the Phoenix, Arizona area because Chad and I are taking a vacation there in May. So I'm going to be contacting the Barnes & Noble stores out there in Phoenix, Scottsdale, and Peoria, I think, just to see if I can maybe schedule a book signing at one of them while we're there in May, like May 7th through the 11th or something like that. I think last week I totally got cut off because our technology died, and I hope you did not see me yell. Well, and totally scream like the F word, because, you know, I love the F word. And I was super frustrated, and it was down for like 10 minutes. So it was just way too late to get it up and running, especially because then I realized when it died that I had to create a new Google Hangout event and a whole different web address. So it wasn't really, it wasn't working. So I appreciate those of you who tweeted and were like, we lost you, or when you told me that you could see me, but at that point it kept going in and out and was super, super slow. So it wasn't, I'm sorry, apologize for that. But I left off at the question of why did I change the subtitle? And so I've kind of talked about already that I've changed the subtitle. I was adamant about the word child-free. I've talked about this a couple times now at this point. Sorry, that was Bosco, if you could hear him, because Chad decided to come up here in the middle of my book club. You're supposed to do that before this started. Oh. And the dogs all got new chewies, so they're like normal siblings, which means you might hear them bark and fight. So I was adamant about the word child-free. And I've talked about that as where I was in my journey. And then I had that realization that because I think I have to accept that I am child-free because I can't have kids. And that means that I do get some of the perks of living a child-free life. That just is what it is. But I'm not child-free because I'm not child-free by choice. And I don't like the word childless because it sounds super negative, and I'm not less of a person or less of a woman because I can't have kids. So that's why I call myself Childful. That's technically the working title of the second book right now. So the other big reason, though, that I took child-free out of the title is because when we were in the trenches of the journey, I never would have bought the book that had child-free in the title because I didn't want that life. So I knew that word could stop a lot of people from just picking up the book at all, picking up a book that really could help them. I have had some feedback that people really liked the child-free word on it because it kind of helped them start to move toward that idea that maybe they could have a life child-free and be okay with it, which I love hearing that, obviously. I need the book to reach more people, though. It's not about book sales. I mean, it is, obviously, but it's about this book reaching the people that it needs to help them. People that need help for recovery, people that need help in the infertility journey, or people that know someone in the infertility journey, whatever. So I just need the book to reach as many people as possible. And it seems like it's damn near impossible with already the topic of infertility, which I definitely wasn't willing to take that word off of the title, off the cover page and out of the title. So so that's why I changed the title. And let's see, my next question is, this is one of the controversial ones, which I'm actually kind of excited about. So there's a couple documentaries actually coming out about miscarriage and the infertility journey that I'm very excited to be supporting and kind of connecting with over Facebook. Don't Talk About the Baby and One Shot, or One Last Shot, are the films. I think I have those titles right, sorry. But one of them, she wrote in and she said that she's done for the film some research and been talking to a lot of doctors that have mentioned that there's some talk about having infertility come with its own like mental health diagnosis, and like that a lot of us that go through infertility experience anxiety and depression, and that a lot of times these feelings don't go away after your journey ends, whether or not you get the baby of your own or through adoption or like me, child-free living. And so I don't know and she asked me what my take on that was, which I love this question. The way the DSM-5 works, which is kind of like the book that I have to use to diagnose my clients, especially if they want to get insurance coverage, is that you have to meet so many of the symptoms from a checklist before I can diagnose you with a disorder. So like major depression disorder would be like 5 of 9 symptoms. So, and you'd have to meet 5 of them to be labeled as the diagnosis. When it comes to infertility, I don't know why I'd never thought of this. I think I was just kind of more, I don't know. At this point, I do absolutely think it should have its own mental health mental diagnosis. But this tough part with that is that some of us will only meet criteria for anxiety and depression when we're in the journey. And so what we know is that a lot of people will meet criteria for an anxiety disorder or a depression disorder at some point in their lives, because life is just really fucking hard. So at some point, a lot of us meet criteria for a mental health diagnosis. It doesn't mean that that's a diagnosis that sticks with you forever, or it's not one of those diagnoses that's treatable, if not curable, and can go into remission. Like, that's literally part of our criteria. I can put remission in my note system. But the mood stuff that those of us have gone through this journey experience, it's so much the same and yet so different. I think probably the length of time that it lasts is a lot different. I think that could be our trip up. That would be one of the things that people would argue in the research. Like, do you have your own adjustment disorder in relation to infertility? Because you may not meet criteria for anxiety throughout your whole journey, but you have a base level of something that's different for a very long time, if not forever, because of your journey, if that makes sense. There's an article, I've shared it on my social media stuff in the Buffer account. I think it's technically a Christian article, which I love, but I know is not everybody's thing, but like 10 things that will never be the same after infertility or something like that. And it is like, going through this journey means that we love differently, we grieve differently, we experience sadness differently, we appreciate differently. It just changes you. It changes you forever. That's why I put in the lifelong losses in the title of the book. And so I think, I don't know, it's such a complicated question of what if like infertility should have or come with its own mental health diagnosis, because there will be lots of men and women who cringe at that completely. I'm not sure that you can get through this illness, or this, whatever we want to call it, illness, disease, this freaking struggle, without struggling with something that you would probably meet criteria with. But the fact remains is that most people in the mental health field are not educated in this field. And what I absolutely do know, come here, Bosco, come on. What I absolutely do know is that I work with my infertility clients much different than I do my other clients, just in regards to their anxiety and their depression presents different, and their grief presents a little bit different. And so, I mean, I obviously work with all my clients very differently, but when it comes to the infertility clients, it's just different. But underneath it all, it's loss, anxiety, depression, sadness, anger, joy, love. It's human emotion. So underneath it all, it's very much the same, if that makes sense. Bosco came up here to say hi. Can you guys see him? There's Bosco. Bosco, say hi. He's the asshole, but everyone's favorite. So he's a little bit of both. Let's see our next question. Oh, I did put in my notes that like the anxiety and the depression that we experience through infertility is nuanced. I think that's a good word for it. It's just different. The perfect example of that would be like the person that struggled with infertility or loss, and then they finally do get pregnant, and everyone in their entire lives are telling them to be super excited. Oh my God, it's over, and you're so excited, it's perfect. And she's sitting there pregnant and maybe even knowing that she's in the safe zone, but she knows that there is no safe zone for those of us who have been through this and who have lost what we have. So it just steals a lot of that from us, I guess. It's just different. Another question, kind of along the same lines, was postpartum depression following a pregnancy loss, which this is an interesting it's kind of taking a tangent off of this. There's been a lot of stuff that's coming up on my blogger reel on this, and just like my news feed on miscarriage. So like I have a client that she hates using the word miscarriage. She's like, I didn't miss anything. She calls it a pregnancy loss, and I totally agree with her. And so I use miscarriage on Twitter just because of the hashtag, but I'm really trying hard to refer to it as pregnancy loss now, because I do think that that's way more, that feels different. There's been a couple things come across, like I've heard before that women who have to have a DNC after they have a pregnancy loss have to check a box that literally says, I choose to terminate this pregnancy. I think that that's something that needs to change. And then one of my blogging friends just wrote a blog about how she's had recurrent pregnancy loss, which I think is technically over 3. And she got her medical records, and at the top it said habitual aborter, which obviously comes with some horrid feelings and is not accurate. And so we have a long ways to go in the medical field when it comes to the language that surrounds pregnancy loss. And this obviously, I think, greatly includes postpartum depression. So the question was, is there, like, that a lot of medical professionals are not recognizing postpartum depression after pregnancy. Is it a thing? And I mean, obviously, I mean, it would be a huge freaking thing, because you still have all the hormones, and your body's going through a huge trauma. And then on top of that, you have a loss. And so like postpartum depression is super, super, I would assume, very common. I have no idea what the statistics are, but as a therapist, I cannot imagine that it not be common. But like, I think, we need to talk about this more. We need to talk about the language that we're using in pregnancy loss, and we need to talk about what the medical field is labeling things as, and we need to talk to the medical field that they need to be assessing for postpartum. And friends and family need to be aware of what's going on, because postpartum is a very, very real thing. And a lot of women, whether or not they have the full-term healthy baby or it's after pregnancy loss, they're struggling in complete silence and shame. This would be even, I think, way more complicated for the woman that is experiencing it after a loss. And then you've also got the woman who's suffered with infertility or struggled to get pregnant, and then she has a baby, and then she has postpartum. And so you have a whole lot of really complex feelings built into that. And so I think we just need to be very, very conscious of what's going on. We need to talk about it, because that's my theory on, it's my theory on everything. Just freaking talk about it. Put it on the damn table. Ask for what you want and need, and your life will actually be a lot better. Ultimately, when it comes to postpartum depression after pregnancy loss or after a live birth, I think we have to seek help. I think a lot of women are thinking that it will just pass, which it can, absolutely. But for some women, it does not without treatment. And so you're not alone in this suffering at all. It is very, very common. And so I just think talking about it and seeking help. Okay, so those were 2 really serious questions. I guess technically this is my last question that I was sent. So if any of you watching have a question or comment, please tweet it to me or Facebook it to me or email it to me. So this last question goes back to the dogs. So last week I had to answer the question about how the dogs enrich my life, which they enrich my life in a different way than kids, obviously. But they are my kids. So they all have their own unique personality. They are all a huge pain in my ass and exhausting, and they all make me laugh and love me unconditionally. So I think they're not a lot unlike human kids in those ways, at least. But this question I love this question because I do talk about this in the book. She says, you talk about reincarnation in your pets. I'd love you to elaborate on this, on why you feel this way. So I talk about Maddie in the book, which is typically one of the areas that pretty much no matter who you are, you cry when I write about Maddie, because it was heartbreaking. She was our first baby that we had to put down. Make sure that's not a tweet. And so Maddie, we knew Maddie was not doing well and that we would have to make the decision soon. And then our last round of IVF failed, and we lost our last embryo. And I want to say it was that Saturday that we went to the rescue shelter, or maybe the week after, and we found Gertie and Gracie, the litter mates. And so Gertie, Gracie, we had 4 dogs for a time period of about 2 months, and Gracie was just obsessed with Maddie. And Maddie hated her because Maddie was old and in a lot of pain and sick, and Gracie was literally a 3.5-pound 13-week puppy. I believe that we have on video somewhere, I think it's Gracie that Maddie attacks, because Gracie was just hopping through the grass to get to her to play with her. But she just loved Maddie. And then what was Maddie's last day on earth, because we had scheduled to put her down, Maddie got her first real bone, because I don't usually give real bones to our dogs. And Gracie was just, we spent the day outside. It was beautiful outside. And Gracie was still really little, because obviously she was still only less than 4 months old, maybe, 5 months old, 6 months old, something. And so Gracie would just like literally lay an inch closer and closer and closer to Maddie. And Maddie would growl and growl at her. Maddie was a growler. Maddie would growl at you if she was happy. Maddie would growl at you if she was pissed. She would, that's how she communicated. She would bare her teeth at you all at the same time as licking your face in love. I mean, it looked scary, but it was just one of her qualities. And that last day, Gracie just, it was literally like if Maddie would have let her, Gracie would have laid right next to her touching her, but Maddie would not let her. And it was the whole day long. It was just the strangest thing ever. And what we know now is that it was not very long after Maddie died that Gracie started to just do what Maddie did. She will cock her head slightly, not as good as Maddie did it, because Maddie, you would say, do you want to go for a walk? I don't want to say it too loud because they're right there, but do you want to go swimming? Do you want to go fishing? And Maddie would just cock her head back and forth, back and forth. It was one of her best tricks. Gracie did that a little bit. Then Gracie started growling at everything, at everyone, even when she's happy. So that's totally Maddie. She is always hungry, just like Maddie. She also has really, really, really weird and expensive health problems. Like, she didn't lose her baby teeth, so those had to be pulled. She has really strange fall allergies that are horrible, that she has to go on all these meds for. And so Maddie had really strange, weird health problems, and so does Gracie. So we always joke that we love that Gracie's personality, or that Maddie's personality is in Gracie, because there's not a week that goes by that I don't say Maddie, and she just looked at me. Gracie just looked at me and I said Maddie. So I remember her every day, because she was literally my first child. I got Maddie when I was single and new to the big city of St. Louis, and I got her when she was 3 pounds, and I had her for 9.5 years. I had her before Chad. So I love that Gracie is so much like Maddie. Gracie's also very much her own self, too. So she's kind of the diva, the baby diva in reality. So that's why is it reincarnate? I don't know. I think it is probably reincarnation. I don't know what else you would call it. Let's see. I kind of want to go back in case any of you guys missed last week. I was talking about, covered the controversial question about attachment disorders and adoption. I write about that a little bit in the book. I just recommend, adoption is an amazing option, and I'm starting to see some more articles on, how Gracie, I don't know what she's doing, that how adopting from foster care is obviously cheaper and faster and all of those things. But I did post on social media this week that YouTube video of, it's hilarious. If you have not seen it yet, you have to look at my feed or just Google it. But it's called, if you wouldn't say it about a boob job, don't say it to an adoptive family. It is freaking hysterical, and such good education. But yeah, attachment disorders are they scare me. I'm a therapist, so they do scare me. And so my best advice to any family considering adoption is just do your research and ultimately just talk about it and seek help, because there's so many resources for families that that adopt. I mean, so many resources. And so if that is your path for your family, it's your path for your family. You're ultimately the only one that can decide that. Just like Chad and I are the only ones that can decide that adoption is not for us, and that we stopped treatments. You don't have to explain that decision to anybody except to one another, and you make it together. You make it together for sure. Some of the other questions I talked about were the dogs. I already talked about that. I think that's about it. I've been trying really hard to, I hope you just sent me a question. Oh, I like that. I have a dispute that foster is faster, at least here in Canada. I'm at 2.5 years from applying for now. That's insane. See, and like, you got to be careful of some of those articles. That's why I like to share all those articles, because like information, or it's just knowledge is power or whatever, but it doesn't mean that they're all accurate. That's crazy. 2.5 years from foster. That's really from paperwork. Yuck. So that's also why we have to stop minimizing the adoption journey. I write about that in the book a lot too, because it's not as easy as just adopt, just like the back of the book of my book says. Like, yeah, there are a lot of kids waiting and there are a lot of unwanted pregnancies, but that doesn't mean that they are easy or cheap to get. So if it's your path, you know it. And if it's not, be brave enough to say that it's not, because it does. It takes me a lot more courage to say publicly as a therapist that adoption is not for me. That's scary as hell to admit that, but I know it's not my path to have a family. I am parenting in many, many other different ways. And I honestly think that's probably the direction of Ever Upward. I used to think it was like trying to help other couples navigate what this looks like as not being able to have kids long term. Like, what does it look like when all the kids in my life are older and they're not so little, and they don't, like, I'm not so cool or fun to hang out with. And there'll be writings about that, I'm sure. But I'm finding that the direction that things are going right now is that I parent so much every day. A lot. I mean, even just this week, consoling a 17-year-old client who had her last session with me because she had to go see someone else for silly reasons, but parenting her, which was ultimately just giving her unconditional love and care. So I don't know. I think that's going to be something that I can share with the world and with couples who are going through this journey, that your dream of being a parent isn't dead if this doesn't work out. It just sure as hell doesn't look anything like you thought it would or what you wanted it to look like. And it does not mean that it's every day that I love it. Some of you may have seen on my social media Wednesday, Thursday, or what, today's Thursday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, I have so many friends right now that in the blogging world, especially, that are pregnant or that are having really successful infertility rounds and getting tons of eggs and embryos, which is just, I'm so excited for them, because I don't want them to have to keep going through this journey as people that I care about and love. And then, like, you read that update or you get the message that they got so many eggs or whatever, and it's awesome, and I'm so truly happy. But then you have that, like, stupid freaking part of my brain that still thinks, like, why not me? That's not fair. But it's a small part. And I had a Christian counselor that I went to lunch with yesterday. He goes, that totally makes sense. He's like, you don't shut off the longing that you have just because you've accepted what is and done the work. And I was like, that's it. It's like it's the longing. And so I think part of this journey, like, I don't have this, like, I read one of the reviews today and it said, like, one of the things that makes your message so great is that you don't have it all figured out. No, I don't. Because then I get frustrated with myself too. Like, when I had that thought of, like, well, why didn't it work for me? I don't want to feel sorry for myself, and I feel so happy for those people, but I have to honor both sides of this part that, like, it sucks. Like, why didn't it happen for us? But that doesn't take away how excited I am for these people. I'm so excited. And I cannot freaking wait for those babies because I get to love them from afar and see their journeys. And that's awesome. And I wouldn't get that if it had worked for me, if I'm honest, because life would have been a lot different. So you have to give yourself permission to feel all of it. I'm finding that this is true for life, but this is especially true in the infertility journey. This shit's not black and white. It's really freaking complicated. So you can be very, very excited and happy and overjoyed and scared shitless at the same time, and pissed off that you're having to go through this, and sad that you're having to go through this, and that this is going to last for the rest of your life no matter what you get, because it changes you forever. So you get to feel everything and give yourselves permission to feel everything, because it's okay. And I think that's the only way that you're going to figure out how to be okay. It's the only way you find your happy ending in reality. Let's see, I got another tweet, so I'm going to see what it is. If I can unlock my freaking phone. Oh my gosh, I love that. My nannied kids still come to me. They're adults, married, lives of their own, still my kids. Oh, that makes me really happy. That's what I hope for my chosen children. That no matter, I don't know, that they know I'm here forever. Forever, forever. Yeah, that's awesome. That makes me excited. And I also think that that's part of the journey that I wouldn't have gotten had it worked in the traditional sense of the word. If I had been a mother to my own children and not a parent to so many. I'm really, like, so hard. I went to that training to write it. Well, what I want to think is going to be my TED Talk this year. And I haven't looked at it in like 3 weeks. And my word was parent. That's what my Facebook, my personal Facebook page, my profile picture is me with a Post-it note that says parent, because that's my word. And because I'm parenting. So I think that's it. I'm just going to end there because that's a pretty sweet place to end. I'm going to be super, super annoying and beg you to share that you've signed up for the Thunderclap, because we only need two. We only need 2. Let me refresh it. I'll tell you if we still need 2. I'll refresh it right now while we're on. And then, yeah, I think so. Yep, I still need 2 people. And please try to do a review, because that would be amazing if you did a review for the book. And I can't figure out, I hate the tiles on this computer. And please do a review. Please sign up for the Thunderclap. Please RSVP to the book signing if you're going to come to that. And what else are my reminders? If I technically don't think I have any free books left for Amazon reviews, technically. I think I technically have a few audiobooks left. But we definitely need to get to 50 reviews. So if you could please rally some people around me on that, I'd really appreciate it. So I hope that you liked the book club. I have no idea how many of you actually watched. I don't think I'll ever get to, I don't know. I'm sure there's some like fancy way online that I can figure out how many of you watched. But I had several of you send in questions, which I really, really, really appreciate. And please don't ever hesitate to reach out via email or the blog or Facebook or Twitter for advice, for help, for feedback, for criticism that you need to give me. It's the only way I learn and grow, so I appreciate it. Just got on there. A reminder that I need to do a book signing in Halifax. That's in Canada, right? I'm so bad. I'm so bad at geography. But I have so many people in Canada. But Canada is huge. And I don't know where you all are. I have a lot of people in my blogging world, and my Twitter world, and my Daring Way world. I have a couple people in Canada from there, and from Emerging Women. I told Chad we should go to Canada, but I need to figure out the areas. So maybe if this book when this book sells, I will get to do a book tour, because that means that I'll be making some money on it. Instead of just, my therapist says I can't say it's bleeding money because it's an investment, which it is. So I'm not going to say that. Okay, so thunderclap, Amazon reviews, and I'm going to bug the hell out of all of you until April 7th to try to get this book going. Thank you for watching, and don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great night and great weekend. It's supposed to be beautiful here in St. Louis, so we're going to enjoy it. Love you all. Bye.